Hello and welcome to the Watson Weekend. We are your hosts. I'm Rick Watson.
Hey, it's Jess Lasesky. It's another weekend. Here we go. We're ready.
Yes, we are your weekly dose of medicine with just enough sugar to make it go down well. Your go-to place for news in e-commerce, technology, retail, all the things.
All the things. We are not professionals, but we're getting there slowly. I will tell you what is getting more professional. Our intros, our graphics.
Correct.
We have stepped it up here thanks to our amazing production team. So it's just enough to fool you that we may know what we're doing, but
Yeah,
not
the
very
show is
much.
getting more professional. We are not.
We
That's
are
the
not.
distinction.
That is a very clear distinction. So
Correct.
yeah, we'll try not to let you guys down. But in other news, we are so proud to have Elastic Path as our partner. They help you bring this amazing show to life, as well as your unique commerce vision with a flexible API first, composable commerce platform, proven pre built solutions, and a team dedicated to your success. They are proud to support companies like Astrac and others who we've talked to in the past with advanced
They
pricing
were
and
on the
product
show.
data needs. Yep, while accelerating their time to market. So it's been amazing working with Elastic Path. Thank you guys, and we're going to hit into the next part of our segment, right, Rick?
Yeah, so we have a great show coming up. John Shea, a good friend from the marketplace universe, he and I have known each other for a number of years. We worked on a number of accounts together. One of the smartest people I know in the Amazon universe. But first, we have the headline hangover for today.
Mm. Here we go.
Awesome. Target. Our first story is really Target canceled Christmas already, which is mostly for their employees. They were getting 100% of their bonus in previous years because of the Q4 performance and the full year 2024 performance, which was not fantastic.
Rough o'clock.
Employees are getting 87% of their bonus, which
Yeah.
seems like a pretty high number for their performance.
It does. I guess it's above 80, but not at
Right.
90. I mean, it's kind of a weird percentage based on the calculation. So, yeah. Then, I know in this article, they were also talking about other things that they have cut, other initiatives. Like we know that they've been pulling back in DEI. But yeah, lots of things that Target's scaling back, and bonuses just seem to be the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, they keep being behind things. Their collabs are always good. Their merch is good, but their marketing is just has some issues. So, um, we'll see what happens. They're gonna get a new management team this year, is my prediction, and so
Yeah.
we'll come back to this one.
Yeah, we'll again put this in the bingo card for the Watson weekend. We will be talking about it because if you had it, we thought we'd just keep the Target conversation going with the Kate Spade and Target collaboration. You mentioned their collabs; they've done a lot of these over time, and those have had a lot of momentum where people just rush immediately, right? They'll wait in
Hmm.
line, they buy a bunch of merch, ultimately ends up on eBay, Poshmark, and other places that as people try to get their hands on it. Um, a lot of the things in this collection are going to be $15 or
Hmm.
less, which is not necessarily the Kate Spade brand. And
It's
when
also
you
not
it's also
Target-ish.
not Target. Yeah. Whenever they've done these collabs in the past, sometimes there are items that are hundred and some dollars or more. So yeah, it is kind of interesting. And I wonder, Kate Spade's been, I think, struggling a little bit too for a while. They've not
You don't
necessarily been the
say?
marquee brand that they always once were. So do you feel like this is a match made in heaven or
Um, Look, Target usually does a good job in these collabs. They don't overcommit to them, but it's enough to like generate some buzz, and then they sort
yeah.
of keep rolling them down. $15 seems to me like an admission that this is the sign of the times. My
Mhm.
worry is like Target. I understand they need to get it in the store. Is it a little bit more of that like, hey, I'm wearing Chanel. but I'm this Chanel lipstick, right? It's sort of like, right, you can have a $10 Chanel item, and I'm not,
But I'm
Coco.
carrying it around in my bag.
Correct.
Yeah, or I got the Chanel case and I really just popped out my Elf Cosmetics and I put it in. So there's lots of ways to work around that. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is going to help the Kate Spade brand. I think, look, it'll get it in the hands of more consumers, which maybe is the goal right now, and where else are you going to go? So
Yeah, we'll see. Well, it'll be interesting to see if this one sells out like it has in the past, at least.
it could be worse. They could end up on Amazon Haul.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Woohoo! Zipping. So what's happening in the PetSmart world? People still loving their pets, it seems like, Rick.
Yeah, people will never forget loving their pets, and the idea here is that they are investing a significant amount in ship from store, and such that 90% of PetSmart orders are now are being shipped from store, because 70% of their customers are within 20 miles of the store. And so this is a strategy that, our last segment pioneered with Target.
Hmm.
And obviously, there are a lot of retailers that have a pretty big store strategy. For PetSmart, it seems like it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah,
they're kind of the category killer in the segment. If you sort of like, Chewy is, of course, there from an
sure.
online point of view, but you're still gonna walk your furry friend into the PetSmart and have them. It's like a kid going into a candy store. You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
It's like
You
you
gotta
bring
let
your
them pick
dog
out their
into a
toy.
PetSmart. Your dog like freaks out from like all the chew toys you come home with.
That's right. That's right. It's well, yeah. Look, people are going to celebrate their pets. They're going to celebrate their kids. And I think the other interesting stat here was 70% of
Mm,
these orders are, within 20 customers who are 20 miles within the store. So it's not that far, of
right.
a drive. Um, so it is pretty interesting to see stores continuing to use the basis of their inventory, local inventory at least, to push things out. They're saving on shipping as well. And I feel like this is the strategy or the playbook that's like, just double down on the things that work, right? We're not talking
Yeah.
about crazy innovation here. These are just, core things that you can do to keep continuing to improve your margins and improve the customer experience.
Yeah. I mean, the only question I have is like, how does the pet hit the buy button?
He barks at Alexa.
Okay. It's agentic.
Yes, it's agentic. It's agentic.
I love it.
That's how it's going down. Um,
Ah.
oh well, our friends at NRF have optimism in rose-colored glasses that maybe they also bought from Target. They're still predicting that sales are going to perform well, strong sales performance.
Mm.
They're seeing, growth anywhere from 2.7 to it's like 3.5%. I just think it's interesting. Is the outlook going to be that rosy?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was wondering, like, is the group at NRF like checking the stock market at all? Are they,
Well, too soon.
the Wall Street Journal surveyed, I released some support. There was a Red Point market update where like 75% of Fortune 500 CEOs have a more pessimistic outlook now than they did just 4 months ago.
Right.
Consumers, according to Lululemon CEO and Walmart CEO, um,
Cautious.
are saying that consumers are exhibiting a more stressed behavior than they did before. And so I think NRF could just be sleeping. That's possible.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the quote that I thought was a bit shocking was like, consumer spending is not unraveling. And that seems to be the opposite, to your point, of what we're hearing
Yeah,
from other executives. And so I don't know necessarily that this is believable.
yeah,
And we've questioned NRF's forecast in the past, as well as just the general optimism. I think last year it played out maybe a little bit less than what they had thought. This
yeah.
year, look,
I'm
I
gonna
know,
pull back up that Kaplan stat that ran across the screen. Kaplan
yeah,
gave a strong prediction: holiday 2025 up 4.7%, which is that's a bold call, Mr. Kaplan.
it is. It is. It's we'll have to again. one to watch. And if you have NRF stats on your bingo card, we'll keep we'll keep walking through those because I think we're not going to hear the end of this story, and
Yeah.
especially with
Nick,
uh,
put down the sauce. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, exactly. All right, hit us with the next one.
In the next one, this was a surprising item from the news. Obviously, we've talked about this weekend. There was a deadline to acquire TikTok, which the
Yep.
deadline is basically whatever our president wakes up in the morning thinking about. The deadline can move every week. But Amazon has decided to make a bid for TikTok. And so this will be an interesting thing. I personally cannot imagine a worse company on the planet to own TikTok. Amazon is boring. It's a logistics company. They don't know how to merchandise. Nothing on Amazon is exciting. We'll see if John disagrees with me. This will be actually, I think, a very interesting conversation. Um, I think Amazon is the most utilitarian website on the planet, and it's almost like the opposite of TikTok. Like jiggle, like we need to, like I don't know, all these
Yeah,
things.
I
What
think
would happen
though.
if Amazon owned TikTok?
Yeah, you know what? I'll take the other point on this, which is you're right. They are utilitarian, but I think that TikTok can continue to do its thing, and what they could bring is logistics and scale to help some of these sellers. So they're going to plug in their FBA, they're going to
Mm,
plug in other aspects, and really what this is going to do is juice their influencer program. Because while you're
mm,
right, it's not exciting if you just shop on Amazon, but the people who are helping Amazon win the day are these influencers and these influencer shops and collectives that they build and they spray out on TikTok, on Instagram. They'll build the spring dress collection, and somehow they figure out the ways to navigate and source the looks for less. And I think that's really what's going to power
yeah,
if this type of acquisition takes place. A successful one is they'll just keep relying on the influencers to do the merchandising for them.
yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens here. I mean, the default could be just nothing happens and TikTok continues as normal, or they could end up in any one of like six players. Uh, Marty Armstrong makes a very good point that Amazon could never get approved. I agree under Lena Khan,
Yeah.
who is now, by the
On.
way, I have a resume here. If in case any one of you in the audience have a resume for a young, enterprising, Amazon hating executive, Lena
just
is your
just
woman.
corporation hating.
Right.
Yeah, business building. Yeah.
So
If you want
we're
some
gonna we're
tank
gonna
up.
close the file on the talk here, and finish up with our final story of what the hell happened to your portfolio overnight. Speaking
Yeah.
of day drinking, I'm gonna start day drinking.
He might. Yeah, this is called While You Were Sleeping, and I didn't sleep. So it was, I think I had dreams about, waking up and like just the world was somewhat ending. It's kind of been insane to see what has happened. We, had the tariffs get, I think the tariff calculator was interesting, right?
Hmm.
In terms of how things were calculated.
Yeah,
There was the
I think my daughter Florence came up with the calculations.
yeah, she used her abacus.
Yes.
Yeah, to pull it together. I think that is what happened. We saw some pretty hefty things. Apparently, the penguins are in protest on the Antarctic islands that also had tariffs. There's a lot of good memes going around about that. But yeah, the market is not happy because the market likes certainty, and we are in very uncertain times, friends.
That is the case. So we're gonna monitor it, and again, we're gonna get you some sleep, Jess,
Thank you.
because we can't have you, especially at the beach.
I
You
know.
need to get some
I'll
nice
be
quality
napping.
rest.
I'll be napping later.
Right.
Don't worry.
No, for sure.
You're right.
So
Well,
that's it for the headline hangover. Thank you to our sponsors, Passport. We always appreciate you. Our next segment is with an old friend in the marketplace universe, John Shea. John is a proud dad of two boys. He's a Bostonian. He's a Harvard professor
wow.
on occasion. I don't think full time. We'll ask him. He is a certified nerd. He was at Google in the 2000s. He worked on paid social and programmatic marketing at Criteo. Now he's focused on helping brands and retailers succeed on Amazon through his digital data consultancy and performance marketing firm, Momentum Commerce, which is one of the most respected consultancies in this e-commerce enablement space. So, welcome to the program, Mr. John Shea.
Hey, welcome, John.
Happy Friday, Rick and Jess. Thank you so much for having me. And Rick, thank you for the kind and comprehensive introduction. I really appreciate that. Most importantly, thank you for the brief preview of the TikTok boogie. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I'd like to learn more about that.
I want to see it on the Amazon homepage.
I think that's an interesting matchup. We should talk through that a little bit. But yeah, I'm delighted to be here and share some of my experience working with a lot of leading brands on Amazon with your audience. From the both of you. So thank you.
Look, I think it's fascinating. Amazon has evolved so much in the past 25 years. I mean, it started as auctions, and then they added a little hat with Z shops, and then the marketplace came out and everyone thought it was bananas. They were allowing third-party sellers on there. And so for a while it was just like a channel for these scrappy resellers. Mm-hmm. And then big brands found them. Like Jess and I were at Channel Advisor for many years, and we put a lot of the first customers on Amazon, period.
Yep.
And big brands started to see Amazon as a channel. Does it make sense? You have a lot of other channels. You have Kohl's and Macy's and Walmart. And, well, why not Amazon? There's just this online only. But that's not exactly what Amazon is it, John?
No, there's so much more to it. And to say that it evolved a lot in the last 25 years is an understatement. It's evolved a lot in the last 3 months. You know, it's a fascinating area to be working in. You know, I think my whole team, we're a team of 60 people living in Amazon every day. And I think it's a love-hate relationship. It changes a lot. There's a lot of frustrating aspects of it. But it's super exciting. This year, Amazon's going to get close to selling $1 trillion worth of goods globally. You know, probably somewhere in the $870 billion across all marketplaces. And you know, if you think through the real value of the third-party sellers there, it's one of those moments, Rick. It's
unbelievable. I just wrote down that number, John. That's the first thing I've written down today.
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, I don't think it will be $1 trillion, but I think they're going to flirt with $1 trillion this year. Even in a scenario where we see recession and slowdown in consumer spending, the TAR is pretty impressive. But you know, I think what is probably more interesting for a lot of brands is it's not just a place to put your products and capture demand. It's becoming a platform to engage with and address consumers, not only on Amazon, but also off of Amazon, and have a bigger impact. So we're seeing things today that I never imagined 10, 20 years ago, which are pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so fascinating because you have brands who are trying to sell their merchandise who don't know enough they don't know what they don't know about Amazon. And so potentially we have the chance to dispel some myths here about what Amazon is. And you just offered one of them. It's like Amazon offers you the chance to advertise off Amazon. So like, explain that for us.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start from a position of, let's call it $1 trillion for argument's sake. It'll be less than that. But you've got a retailer with $1 trillion of tracked sales and all the behavior surrounding that. You know, almost everybody in the United States is a Prime member. You know, they're able to fulfill a good within 24 hours almost anywhere in the United States. You know, this is a entrenched moat, and surrounding that is a tremendous amount of data. And that data is extremely valuable for targeting marketing messages and measuring the effectiveness of marketing, not just on what's happening on Amazon, but in any environment. And so what you're able to do now is you're able to take Amazon shopping data and then meet a customer on Hulu, on Paramount, on Disney, on all the content that Amazon is acquiring directly. Thursday Night Football, NBA, NASCAR,
Black Friday football.
Black Friday football game, and so you're seeing this incredible collision of commerce data and true premium upper funnel media inventory. And I think that's the future of advertising, is all media is going to be enabled by this type of retail data. You're going to have much better marketing and measurement as a result. So those are exciting opportunities for brands, but there's this fear of letting the fox into the henhouse.
Yes.
Is it a fox at this point, or is it an elephant?
Yeah. I think a fox is scarier than an elephant, but that's debatable. But it's a big, giant, scary fox, and it's a hen house that's barely held together with toothpicks in a lot of cases, and so you've got a challenging dynamic. But a lot of the brands that we're working with have just sort of come past that, and they're just recognizing that if they want to be relevant to consumers, they have to play in these areas. And so they're leveraging Amazon's marketing cloud to bring in their D2C data directly. We're lucky to work with, just did a case study with Hey Dude Footwear, part of the Crocs brand, and Hey Dude does buy with Prime on their website. So even when a consumer is on the direct to consumer site, they're checking out and leveraging Amazon logistics. So, you're starting to see a lot more comfort there.
Yeah, it is interesting because for so long people avoided Amazon, especially brands. They didn't feel like they could build a brand presence on Amazon in the same way, right? It's, who cares about the brand, and you're layered beside potentially a knockoff, right? Same in the merchandise listings. Are you finding that brands are just overcoming that and realizing that, I may not be able to build my brand in the same way, but I have to be there? Or do you find that there is still opportunities for that brand building experience?
Yeah, I think brand building on Amazon is still significantly constrained. That they enable brands to create brand stores, and you have to do it, right? But when we look at our client data, it's maybe
it's the search. It's the search.
It's about 10 to 20% of total sales roll through the brand store. But the dirty secret behind that is that's where one of the more prominent search ad placements, the sponsored brand ad, often directs traffic to. So, people aren't natively finding these brand stores and interacting with them like a website. And so that's a little bit of a misconception there. I always tell our customers the most underrated ad format on Amazon is something called a sponsored brand video ad. You're in search on Amazon, and you see within the search results an ad that starts playing a video. Advertisers only pay for that on a cost per click basis, but there's tremendous impression value to it. And because so many of these product-based sellers on Amazon don't have good creative and video assets, there's not enough demand for the supply that Amazon wants to make available. I think that's a great way to start building a brand, but it's a little different than true awareness, right? It's a little bit more product demonstration and consideration, where the exciting opportunities are in awareness is really running all the way up to the top of the funnel. It's not doing banner ads and these kind of things that people say help build brands, but really don't. It's finding users on a podcast, finding users watching CTV, and engaging in that type of way.
No, I mean, the data side is so fascinating. You mentioned Amazon Marketing Cloud. Do you find brands, first of all, even know it exists, how to pull it in, how to leverage it, or are they mostly outsourcing that kind of idea? Or like, what are there categories that are early adopters to the Amazon Marketing Cloud?
So first of all, Amazon Marketing Cloud is a clean room. If anybody doesn't know what a clean room is, it's an environment where you can take encrypted data, such as your customer file, and then marry it up with other encrypted data, such as Amazon's customer file, and then understand overlap there.
Interesting.
So it's and clean rooms exist in a lot of different places.
Yep.
And it allows you to allows Amazon to share data that it normally would be sensitive to share around its customers, and brands to do the same. And so, the real opportunity with Amazon Marketing Cloud is omni-channel impact. Like how can we think about the customer journey across many different points of sale and media touch points to make better decisions. In classic Amazon fashion, as they've enabled this technology, they've also sort of randomly inserted data that you can only get within this platform. It doesn't really belong in a clean room. It's just really useful data. And so, there's measures that should exist in vendor seller central, the seller platforms, or the Amazon ad console that you can only get in Amazon Marketing Cloud. So there's a ton of confusion in the marketplace, I would say. Things that are very valuable and customers should be paying attention to is, historically, it's been very difficult to understand CAC to LTV ratios on Amazon. And with the Amazon Marketing Cloud, you can now look at 5 years of shopping history of a customer on Amazon to get a better measure of lifetime value for one of your Amazon shoppers. You can also look at the acquisition cost of various advertising campaigns. And then you can layer audience signal over all the ad buys you do with Amazon to optimize in that direction, which hasn't been possible historically. Where I see a lot of brands like tripping up and wasting a ton of time is going through the same darn journey we all went through 20 years ago, 10 years ago, of looking at multi-touch attribution and concocting crazy schemes that lead to nothing and just pouring over data. And there's and sort of bizarrely, Amazon's not gone in the direction of enabling clean holdout tests for true lift analysis, which is frustrating. But yeah, I mean, Amazon Marketing Cloud is like a critical area of innovation for anybody to pay attention to right now. It's super powerful.
Yeah, it's I want to unpack a little bit of what you were talking about in terms of the obsession with data. I think we have so much data coming at us with from a retail perspective, and you want to make sure you're making the right decisions. Do you find that people are getting paralyzed sometimes in the decision-making process, and like versus just going with gut and intuition and just what logically, they overanalyze all this different data that comes at them. And then sometimes just don't even actually make a decision or start executing.
Yeah. I think I agree with kind of the direction of your question, Jess. I might put a refinement on it, which is my company, myself, we're uber data driven, right?
Yeah.
We want to sort of kill opinions with data and let data drive the decision making. However, what is certainly true in an environment like Amazon Marketing Cloud or a lot of different e-commerce territories, and I saw this in evaluating data and software tools at Shop Talk last week, for example. People need to have a nose. They need to look at the data and have some intuition and just say, there's a there there. Let me keep chasing this. Or this isn't really going anywhere. This doesn't pass my sniff test. And that could be around marketing effectiveness. That could be around, customer segmentation and personalization and stuff. But what I don't see happening enough is kind of a nose that can save you a ton of time. And then you get folks doing, being paralyzed by too much analysis if they don't have a good nose for what they're looking for.
Yeah, I'm probably projecting some of my own things because I've definitely sat in meetings where you spend 45 minutes talking about the data versus 45 minutes talking about the strategy, the execution, the things you need to go do, and like arguing over the numbers. But it sounds like you guys at Momentum are helping sniff that out. And so, like, is there something that you do to help people like move on, or just, whether it's like category deep dives or other ways you guys help them like cut through that and find their nose, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, we struggle with this just like anybody does. I think ways to get around it is we've invested a ton in our own proprietary technology to try to just get to the point faster.
Yeah.
So, for our customers, whatever category they play in, we can immediately see how many sales are happening in that category, what brands are up and down. So you
Nice.
can kind of like contextualize data patterns based on market trend, which helps a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And then, what I'm just bullish about is like looking at AI and agentic solutions for more flexible and large scale. Is that a bingo card word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we hit the center square from Shop Talk.
Oh man, I don't want to be the jargon guy, but
It's okay. You're living among friends. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a safe space.
Helping business strategists perform like data analysts is very cool, and within the next year or two is going to be super common, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, speaking of like making analysts successful, there are a lot of building blocks of success on Amazon, and you've talked about kind of your 10 factors here, but I almost want to like get before that. If you're a brand thinking about Amazon, okay, Amazon's, it's a platform, not a channel. Okay, great. But even it's like, is it first party? Is it third party? Like, what should I even be thinking about? If I'm on first party, should I stay on first party? Because I heard that they didn't want me on first party anymore, but now it seems like they're okay that I stayed there. So like, what's the thinking around the mix at Amazon right now?
Yeah, so I'll give my opinion. I certainly can't speak for the thinking at Amazon, right? But
come on, John. Okay, let's be honest.
That's really why we're all here.
We're just between friends here. That you can tell us what Amazon is thinking.
Truthfully, I don't know what on earth Amazon is thinking, which is why I can't answer that question. But I mean, historically, Amazon's maintained the retail business, vendor central, first party, however you want to say that, in order to control price and to be able to price match anybody.
Exactly. Yes.
So that they can offer to the customer the promise of the lowest prices anywhere. That's the strategic advantage. So they want to have critical assortment from big brands that gives them that pricing advantage. So that's the strategic requirement. Like the retail business for Amazon is not a profitable business unit at all. Marketplace is probably much more profitable for them. On the brand side, the decision should be driven by economics primarily. The economics are quite different from 1P to 3P. And a lot of that just has to do with like size of goods and price of goods and understanding, where Amazon, in order to have infinite selection and great pricing, is willing to, eat some margin to offer, you could buy a thing of Tylenol that costs $7 on Amazon. The shipping cost of that kind of kills the margin, but Amazon wants to have the assortment. Sure. That's a slam dunk for 1P. But if you're selling like makeup, it's small, it's cheap to ship, and you're charging a premium, your margins are going to be way better selling at retail value in the marketplace. So, generally that decision is a pretty straightforward one based on economics. The harder part is when you're already down the road with 1P and you want to unwind that. And you have kind of a gnarly situation where you're forbidden to sell 3P, but that's attractive because you can sort of bet on inventory independently. You can control price a little bit more directly. And honestly, from a management standpoint, it's so much easier to instrument a business in Seller Central than it is when you're selling 1P. So those are the major factors to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so as you get on the marketplace, I mean, you're handed an account or you're looking at an account on Amazon. What's the first thing you look at? I mean, we can talk about like PhD level stuff and marketing cloud and how do you like get it clean, but that's like, that's like your Harvard seminar here. So let's like back down from that.
Yeah, I think of this through the lens of a piece of software we have. So whenever we meet a new customer, we integrate all the data, and then we have a business summary dashboard, and I sort of like think through the things that I always look at first to get a sense of it. And you just want to look at sales volume, right? And Is it up or down? You want to look at market share. Is it up or down? How much room is there? Then some critical measures that are sometimes not looked at as critical measures that I always emphasize is I want to understand branded search volume. How much of a moat is there for this brand based on customers saying, I need this specific brand. And on Amazon, 80% of search or thereabouts is brand agnostic. So that's a huge thing to look at. And is that trending up or trending down? I also like to look at the distribution of sales across a catalog. Amazon is very much an item marketplace. Brands aren't disciplined enough at SKU rationalization on Amazon. But it's very much an area where you need to pick your winners and you need to go deep on your winners. And so I always look at the Pareto SKUs within the catalog and just say, what are the products that are driving 80% of the sales? And then what about the rest? And then we kind of unpack dynamics of retail readiness, reviews, ratings, customer feedback, and try to benchmark that against category median rates. And the last thing that I'd always look at, and you could take a different lens on it depending on the business, but try to look at relative price position. How is the product priced relative to its competition? And
even that word competition is a slippery word because there's so much competition on Amazon that you need to be very specific who you're talking about.
100%. We always define competition algorithmically. So what we do is we look at all the brand's products in search results, and we see the most common neighbors in the search results. And those are your competitors.
Who are you hanging with? Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when I'm talking to a CEO, they actually think a different set of competitors, and you have to get over that. But if you look at it algorithmically, then you can build any statistics comparing yourself to your competition on a time series basis. And think about what we're about to go into, like tariffs. Price on Amazon's going to go nuts. And what's going to be fascinating is to look at relative price position. Whether you move your price up or down, your competition's doing all this kind of stuff. Like, are you still going to be 20% above the median price? Or how is that really going to shake out? And so we're monitoring that for all of our clients and kind of interested to watch that trend.
Yeah, I found too, and I don't know if this is a strategy you advise or just brands are trying to do this to work around price parity clauses and things like that, is I'll find that brands will put kits together, and maybe this is more in cosmetics or things like that. And so they'll create these special bundles or special kits that are exclusive to Amazon, or they may not offer in the same way on their site. Is that a typical thing you would recommend? Is that oh no, I wouldn't go.
100%. There's a great way to expand order value and margin by kitting products together. There's some challenge to it too, though, right? I see a lot of folks get that wrong. And so maybe if it's cosmetics, maybe they're doing it at Sephora for a holiday sale, or or maybe they're even doing it on Amazon for Prime Day. And in either scenario, you're enabling the customer to buy product on a unit basis very, very cheaply. And, Amazon sellers are smart and scrappy and ferocious. They see those opportunities and they arbitrage them to death. So all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, when the sale is over and the kit's kind of sold, particularly like holiday kits and cosmetics, Amazon is flooded with resellers undercutting brand. So it's a dangerous area, but a super important strategy to get right.
Yeah. So another thing that we haven't talked about is there are lots of rules on Amazon. Compliances can get really confusing for brands that come in. And I think you guys have a way that you help manage that for them and on their behalf. Like you've got some dashboards and reports. Can you talk through that a little bit more?
Way to pick a sexy topic for a
we love compliance.
Amazon compliance right now.
6 months ago, we had a lawyer on the program.
Yeah. It gets real here, John. We like to go for the hard stuff,
I mean, it's a super important area. So it's the right question. And managing compliance on Amazon is maddening. Because how you get responses on that and how you escalate issues is really challenging. We certainly don't have a silver bullet. There's a lot of aspects to compliance. Some of them data can be helpful for, just in making sure you're compliant with good account health from a selling perspective. But then there's a lot of like product oriented things, particularly if you're selling consumables or electronics that are pretty gnarly to work through. And honestly, it's sweat equity and having really good discipline and form with how you're engaging with support at Amazon.
I always find that people focus on the tooling side of like Amazon, like what tool is Amazon giving me to manage that? Meanwhile, they don't have a reseller policy.
Yeah.
And by the way, they have no control over their own sales reps.
Yes. Yeah.
Your product is going out the back door.
Yeah.
Like, how did this end up at Amazon? I wonder how.
Yeah, and the week before they just celebrated the guy who's over like selling into Ecuador, who just sold like $20 million into Ecuador. That somehow, I wonder where that's actually going. Yeah, we see that type of thing pretty often.
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting because I find that at least when Rick and I back in the day, people would be like, well, no, we want you to help call Amazon to get this stuff off, and that's why we're working with you. Not like how are we going to drive the sales within the channel? What's the strategy?
Yeah.
It all came down to the fear and the management of it. So
that's an area for me as a running a Amazon agency can be really frustrating because a lot of my competitors are out there claiming that they have special connections, over bullet tools that just don't exist, and that creates a lot of noise in the marketplace. And so I always tell brands, if you hear that type of thing, just run away, because that isn't how it works.
It's too good to be true.
Look, traditional retail is run on like merchandising managers and steak dinners and backroom deals and showing up with their merch in Bentonville. Amazon has robots.
Yes. Yeah. You're selling to an algorithm. That's the game. Yes. And sometimes the algorithm is very frustrating. doesn't have good bedside manner.
Speaking of frustrating, like there was an internal debate, especially by some brands you talk to. It's like you go to a brand and you have people who are like, you know what? We should think about Amazon because, as you said before, everyone in America is a Prime member. And you always have these people that are detractors coming in, and you're like, we can never be profitable on Amazon, period. Amazon will always take all our money. What do you say? What do you say to that?
On the one hand, I'm like very sympathetic, right? Like I'm watching all of my brands right now, and their tariffs are hitting and they're getting squeezed on that. Amazon's stretching out Prime Day to be a 4-day event versus a 2-day event, pushing for longer deals.
Prime Week.
Yeah, and what was Turkey 5 and became Turkey 12 last year, the full month of December this year. So they're getting hammered on a lot of different sides. Amazon's also making running deals more expensive for them. Amazon's also making fulfillment more expensive for them. Amazon's also putting ads everywhere on the page so that it's harder to generate organic sales. So I'm sympathetic to that mindset. I really am. I think the counterpoint is, $1 trillion of GMV, more products on Amazon than on Google. Like if you're not there, you're totally foobarred. And so the key is to be there the right way.
Yeah.
Like saying I don't have an Amazon strategy or don't be on Amazon is your head in the sand.
Yeah.
Right.
But you don't have to do what a lot of the Amazon, agencies will tell you. So you don't have to put all your products on the platform, just to sort the channel really, thoughtfully.
This is another topic that's near and dear to my heart, the resellers on Amazon. And putting your products, if you're a brand getting on Amazon, putting your products on there, more of your catalog versus like giving it to someone who's like, make the problem go away. I don't want to deal with anything. I don't want to deal with marketing. I don't want to deal with listing. I don't want to deal with fulfillment, anything. I don't want to learn about Amazon. You do it for me. Versus brands who take the time to learn the channel, like direct to consumer or something, or like their own store. Like, where do you fall on like where brands need to educate themselves and do things themselves, either totally in-house or in partnership with an agency, kind of like their digital marketing spend?
Yeah, that's a fun one, Rick. And I know you and I have been down that road with a few brands together. I think if you're kind of an old school consumer product company and you're thinking about selling your brand and you're not digital forward, just selling inventory to an Amazon seller and letting them do it for you, to just jack up revenue and build a revenue stream quickly with low effort is totally reasonable strategy. I think that's worked well in those cases. What I can't understand for the life of me is why a vibrant brand would give away one of the most strategic, important, fastest growing and significant channels to a reseller and sacrifice all of the margin and customer experience control in that engagement. I don't get it. I watch brands do it all the time, and it doesn't make sense to me. That the biggest challenges you see are, if I'm buying inventory from a brand and then making money by flipping it on Amazon, I don't have incentive to drive incremental growth. I have incentive to do the 20% that gets 80% of the results. I'm going to put the product there, I'm going to list it, and I'm going to draft on the brand demand that already exists, and I'm going to milk profit. It's the incremental profit dollar that isn't incentivized in that environment. So growth gets stalled. And then increasingly, given the degree to which advertising is required to win on Amazon and create a good customer experience also, I always call it merchandising, kind of choosing which products you want to have show up. Maybe you have a good, better, best product lineup and you want to present that to the customer on searches that aren't specific enough, all those types of dynamics. Like a reseller isn't going to handle that with the same care that a brand would, and isn't going to represent the brand in the same way. So I don't fully understand why brands opt for that model in my experience, unless they just purely don't have any capability to manage e-commerce sales.
Yeah. So we talked about the tariffs and lots of crazy times ahead. What's in store from your perspective for Amazon? Like, are they recession proof? Is it still going to be a go-to destination for the customer?
Yeah, I mean, I think at Amazon's scale, they're going to be as exposed to the recession as anybody would be. It's just if consumer spending dips, they will suffer. They won't suffer as much elsewhere. But I don't want to out anybody's age on this call, but I think we all rode through 2008, 2009 in this industry.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're prepping for. It's just chaos, and so like the markets don't respond well to that. And on the back of that, I think you're going to have some challenges. I think discretionary consumer spending is going to go down. Amazon has its private label, Amazon Basics and things like that.
Yeah.
We saw last recession as a lot of customers traded down into those types of products.
Yeah, first party seemed to get a bump, in the middle of last year. And unit volume went up, but AOVs really
tanked.
Tanked a little bit.
I think that one bright spot I would say for Amazon is like I can remember working on search marketing in 2008, 2009, which was incredibly resilient and grew through the recession, whereas overall marketing spend declined by 20-ish% or something like that. Retail media, I think, is going to be super resilient to any type of recession that we see on the back of tariffs and other things happening in the world. Because it's accountable.
You think that's mostly just because people are digitizing their marketing spend more and more, and as it's more trackable, that there's still a lot of ad inventory to move over to those sorts of formats?
I think it's a function of like accelerating digital transformation, which again, like we saw that in 2008, 2009 in a big way. But it's also a function of if on average 60% of a brand's marketing budget goes to branding and 40% goes to performance, the majority of CFOs and CEOs are going to feel more comfortable cutting the brand budget than the performance budget.
Right.
And that's not the right thing to do in most cases, but that's what happens.
Right.
And so I think you've got resiliency as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to just kind of close on the Amazon outlook. You gave us some great data on how this sale had performed and some of the insights where we talked about the NRF version of the retail outlook. We'd love to pop those up and have you talk through them. Like, what is this data telling us about the consumer and Amazon's performance? Could we share those?
Yeah, we can pull those up here. Um, let's start with growth.
Yeah, so I can share what we've seen so far this year. So this data is sourced from our market intelligence platform, which is called Velocity, where we look at a bunch of statistics across Amazon. If we don't have March data compiled yet, but January and February was $86 billion of GMV sold in the United States on Amazon, which was up about 8% year over year.
Beat retail.
What's that?
It beat retail, which is up.
Yeah, so it's,
Correct.
it's like, retail is continuing to
It's really twice, almost over twice retail growth.
Yeah, so that's meaningful. And there's an extra day in February last year too, right? So there's a little, that's a little
leap year gift.
Little point there. So we'll see. Some categories were up pretty dramatically, and you can kind of see some reasons why, and then other categories were down considerably. So there's winners and losers kind of across this, and really important to calibrate.
Yoga apparel, Jess, come on.
I know, but also I think do people really stick to dry January, right? Tumblers and drinkware down.
Yeah.
You would have thought.
I'll confess, I tried to stick to dry January and failed. I don't know about you guys.
No,
did not try.
No. Yeah. So, I thought that was interesting. Yoga apparel, I guess people also weren't working out.
Not sure.
What's happening there? Medical diagnostics. That one's a random one too. What's that telling you?
That's probably a function of fewer COVID tests being sold this year than last year, which is a good thing. That's a good one for everybody. I think that the effect was a little bit less pronounced.
Yeah. Except everyone got hit with the flu or whatever the funk was. I don't know if it went around, your area, John, but took our whole family out. It was like a cycle of sickness for 4 weeks.
We got enough bad stuff happening in the world. Let's not recount the January illness, but that hit my household pretty badly too.
Yeah. Any things you predict are going to be with what the dynamics in the industry and things happening? Like, are there categories you just feel like Amazon will own and win this year that might be different than in the past?
At this point, Amazon really is the everything store. They're kind of covering the market pretty darn well. We work with a few beauty brands, and I continue to be amazed at the acceleration of Amazon's beauty business.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Sephora and Ulta in store and online combined, and it's growing. So I think that's an area that I think they'll do really well in this year. And I'm excited. I think it's an interesting area. There's a lot of pressure on brand margin, and so I think it's going to be a year where the strongest survive. The companies that have great capacity and capability to execute well on a platform like Amazon are going to find advantage and come out the other side of things a lot stronger. It's exciting for people like me who nerd out on this stuff and try to do it at the highest level.
Yeah, I think the ability to be nimble is definitely going to be required this year with your suppliers. You even see brands and retailers announce today, like Nintendo released their Switch 2. They said we're going to bring in the inventory early. They're like, nope, we're not going to bring in the inventory early. We're going to wait a month just to see what the heck is going to happen. And so I think there are a lot of brands, retail, like distributors, the entire supply chain needs to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah, if you think about COVID as being like an unpredictable event, and what we're dealing with now for consumer product CEOs is just as crazy as managing through COVID, because you have no idea what's going to happen. The challenge in COVID is some companies overbought and they got wiped out, because think about all the Amazon aggregators. They bought way too into the COVID demand and basically went bankrupt. And then other companies may not go in hard enough. And so we're having a really hard time with our clients navigating that, because you just don't know. I think the clients that sort of have good forecasting practice and get it right are going to benefit the most.
Awesome.
It's almost like you just kind of have to keep your head on straight, right? Not move into panic mode, and but also make the right decisions, which is why people work with you to help them be smarter.
I think we're gonna have a slogan come back. Keep calm and carry on. Like, I think that's gonna make a comeback, Jess.
Yeah, I think so. Except we're gonna do a John Shea spin where it's gonna keep calm and find your nose, because that's really what we're trying to help people do, right?
Sniff it out.
Sniff it out. Yeah, sniff it out. So, well, I think it's a great place to wrap. Thank you so much, John, for being with us, and thanks to Elastic Path again for helping make this happen. It's been a really exciting conversation and a lot of good takeaways that I hope our viewers, we had more than one today, so that's good, found really interesting. So thank you.
And did we tell you about a dance party?
We got to dance.
There we go.
It's the TikTok jazz. It's the TikTok shoulder.
I was unaware of the dance, but I'm here for it.
Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.